Welcome to Heart of the Matter Radio with author and host Cynthia L. Simmons. How does a godly woman live in a world out of sync? Cynthia digs into the issues women face in our complex culture to set a path through the chaos. It's for women seeking the elegance of God's wisdom. So prepare yourself to listen, learn, and rest. Now here's your host, Cynthia L. Simmons.
Have you ever noticed your child misbehaves when you have no time to deal with him or when it's embarrassing? I can remember my child balking at the grocery store or perhaps even getting ready to pitch a tantrum right before the church service starts. It never seems to be convenient, especially when it's going to be really nasty. So what are some ways that we can cope with our little kids when they're just strong-willed? Because that isn't necessarily a bad trait. That just could mean that once you get them on the right path, they're just not going to be knocked off of it. So today I have with me Linda Goldfarb, and she is a coach, and she's really good at coaching moms and dads. So we're going to let her coach from her book, Linked for Parents. Welcome, Linda.
Oh, hey, Cynthia. It is so good to be here with you. Long time. I can't wait to talk about this subject today.
Great topic. So what are some ways to cope with a child who just seems to want to go the opposite direction?
What I like to kind of start us off with is looking at that little bit of a definition, right? It's that strong-willed or defiant child and how they can really stress out the most caring and nurturing parent. We are doing the best that we can, and we're like going, oh, there's something wrong with me. What am I supposed to do when this happens? Oh, I can't believe it. Like you said, in the grocery store, what are they thinking? No. Well, I have 3 strategies that I'd love to share with our parents today. And the first one is that we are to engage with the child first, not the behavior of the child.
And that is hard to do because you want to jerk a knot in their tail when you see what they're doing. You're going, how could they?
Oh, this is so true. Have you been with me in a grocery store? I'm just
I
saying.
think I have been. I think I was sitting on the shoulder.
Well, here's where my heart goes with this. We can all have a bad day. We can all say the wrong thing. We can all act out in frustration, right? And when these actions occur in our child, a key to successfully connecting with her or him is to remember that most often the behavior is temporary and our child is forever. So with that, right? I mean, because we can get frustrated. We can have that anxiety go up. We can have embarrassment hit us. All of these things, depending on where the acting out occurs. And then once we've let something out of our mouth or we've exposed a child to a particular action that we take, we can't take those back. Those are out there. So what do we want to do? Number 1, we do not want to throw the child out with the proverbial bathwater.
That's a good idea.
We have got to look at this as this natural progression of testing boundaries on behalf of our children. And it's going to happen with every child. It doesn't matter what their personalities are. You and I, we talk about personalities a lot. You know, that's what I write on. But what we're not sure of with the different children is the timeline of when this is going to break out in their life, right? So we want to be sure and address the behavior in a way that's not going to attack the child as a person, but to confront the choice he or she made to disrespect our family values. And then what we're going to do is we redirect or diffuse the behavior. So it's really key for us to kind of identify for ourselves, what do we represent as a family? We are a family that adheres to biblical teaching. We are a family that prioritizes a certain way. We are a family who chooses to treat each other fairly, to treat each other with kindness, to treat each other in the family with respect. So I have a scenario. Can I share the scenario with you?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Here we go. So we have 5-year-old Tommy. Tommy is our easygoing stabilizer child, and Tommy's just a little bit tired. Okay. Now, Tommy goes in and he knocks over his sister's blocks. And when we walk in, he yells at us when we ask him, "Why did you do that?" Here's the first thing: recognizing that stabilizers, our easygoing children, they do not do well with lack of sleep. So we realize quickly, Tommy's running on fumes and he desperately needs some downtime. When I look at that, what I want to do, and this even works in the grocery store, Cynthia, if we know, last minute, I've got to run to the grocery store. I know that my child is tired, and we get out there. And of course, we become a little frazzled. And I'm going to touch on that in just a second. But when what our actions show our child is mom's not all together, I'm going to react. But here's what we can do quickly. We go eye level to our child and we look at them, and in a calm voice, we say, "Tommy, it looks like you're not happy right now. But guess what? Knocking over Janie's blocks isn't going to help, or throwing this out of the cart isn't going to help. How about we go to your room right now and we put on some music, or maybe we read a book together, or how about you use some coloring pages and you're just going to color for a little while. But before we do that, would you please help me pick up the blocks? And I want you to look at Janie and tell her that you're sorry, because I know you didn't want to hurt her feelings." When we choose to do that, Cynthia, that calmness, that quick change in demeanor for us as a parent, it settles our child, truthfully, quicker than we believe it will. I know I may have a parent out there going, "Yeah, there's no way because my child, da, 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 da."
Mhm.
But here's the thing. We have already set up a pattern. We've set up a pattern with our child. And if we've responded in a very flashy, harsh, "What do you think you're doing?" This already tells them this is how we're going to behave. But if we look at them and we start diffusing the situation, it lowers the anxiety. And this begins, like I said, with our reaction, our posture, and our vocal reaction. Okay. So what I could do is acknowledge that there's an issue and then calmly offer another way to let him relax and maybe even to go to sleep, right? When we're at a grocery store, it's a little bit different, but we may need to set up not going to the grocery store when we know that our child really is tired, or we've already been going, "Oh, I'll just stop at the grocery store last minute." We can do that. But what we'll also need to do is look at the child and know that they're going to get frustrated. So to set them up for success. And this would be in opposition to saying, "Tommy, what did you do? Look at how sad your sister is. Oh, you made her cry." Cynthia, when we do that, we're attacking the child.
Mhm.
And we're telling them that they are bad, not their choices. We really are directing our anxiety, our frustration at them. And when that happens, it pushes their head down and they start internalizing that they are not good, that they are bad. And as parents, we don't want them to feel that way.
So it sounds like that as a mother, that you need to kind of take a deep breath and choose an action rather than react.
Oh, so good. That's exactly what we want to do. We have to be prepared ahead of time, right? So the second strategy, if I can go on with that one,
Sure.
The second strategy is, this may sound weird, expect less, respect more. Whoa, what do you mean expect less? Okay. Recognizing first, right, that we are the parents, and never do the roles get reversed, no matter how intelligent our child is. This is really prevalent today, Cynthia. We need to really understand that God gave the children to us to raise. He didn't assign us to our children for them to raise us.
That's right.
With access to multimedia today, oh my goodness, children are what I call aging out of innocence before their time. And we are experiencing higher levels of vocabulary in our children, many times aggressive vocabulary, not necessarily what we want to hear, right? But with this increase in social maturity, we sometimes forget that they are still children and are not emotionally mature. Because of this, another key strategy is to successfully connect with our child by expecting less and respecting more. And doing that, we don't expect them to behave older than they are. Statistics tell us today that the average age of achieving adolescence has increased from 19 to 25 based on the maturity level of our young people today. So by adjusting our expectancy, we're going to find that our kids' behavior is not as alarming as we might first assume it to be. We just go, no, we're having discussions. Look how intelligent he is. Look how she communicates. My child communicates like an adult with other adults. The facts are, our children are still children. And by increasing our respect of really where they are at their maturity level, it will allow them to be exactly who God created them to be by design, and not by our will. Oh, I'm embarrassed because my child is acting like this. Guess what? They are a child.
Your children,
And
expect them to be a child. And to
expect them
have
to
the
be a
emotions of a child.
girl. That is exactly correct. And when we do that, then guess what? Our child will flourish because we identify them as, you know what? You're still a little one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to love you into maturity.
Yeah. I had a mother ask me one time, she says, well, I know my daughter is a believer because she's professed faith. She shouldn't be doing that as a believer. Does that mean she isn't a believer? And I said, no, 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 no. Your child is still young. Let her be a child while she's little. She'll never be able to be that as an adult because some of these things she'll grow into.
Right.
You expect a child to be an adult, and you shouldn't.
We do that. And I'll say sometimes this occurs, Cynthia, when we're single moms. It could also be single dads, right? But as single moms, when a child connects to us deeper and we start to treat them like they're a co-parent, that can really, really change up their design, and they'll start walking in a way that's not how God wants them to walk. So if we can keep that in mind, expect less, respect more for how God designed them, it'll be a beautiful thing.
Amazing. That's amazing. And I know your last point is to encourage your child when you don't feel like it, being the parent. I love it.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. This is the toughest strategy to embrace, Cynthia, because how do we parent well when we're not feeling it, right? And I can so relate to this. So how do we make this strategy work? One of the keys is self-care. What? Putting on that oxygen before we choose to put the oxygen on our child. And for us to look at and go, you know what? If we're tired, if I'm tired, my tendency is I'm going to overreact. If I'm stressed, our child will jump on the stress wagon with us. My youngest son asked me one time when the puppies were in his room and the thunderstorms hit, they would not settle down. They were just whining and weeping and crying. And he came back and he knocked on our door and opened the door and he said, they won't settle down. the dogs immediately ran into our room, laid down, and went to sleep. He asked me the next day, he said, Mom, how come the dogs act like that in your room, but they won't act like that in mine? And I said, son, it's because thunder and lightning stresses you out, and they're going to act just like you. Now, I'm not saying that our children are like puppy dogs, but what we offer them as far as our stress, our anxiety, they are going to come right in there and just they're going to hook on to our wagon. So we have to be careful. Imagine that we're so tired that we start yelling at our child to calm down, to stop running or throwing food or chasing the dog. Our raised volume, our state of chaotic stress feeds into the anxiety of our child and agitation. And we can't expect them to react differently if we're reacting out of a state of or a lack of self-control. I'll put it that way.
Right. Now, doesn't this give you some sense of who God is? Because he is the quiet, stable Father who never gets upset. He never overreacts. He's always there. And so at the times that I messed up, it would make me appreciate God, who knows exactly the right amount of stuff to do at the right moment, because I blew it.
And when we blow it, what's so wonderful, Cynthia, is the Holy Spirit is not like, that's not a surprise, right?
Right.
Oh, well, I didn't know she was going to blow it. No, it's, yeah, I knew that. And I'm here. And so when we know that God knows us and he is okay with us, that we are not a surprise, what we can do in turn is ask ourselves, how can I then put something in place that would set my children up for success in this area? And one of the things that I like to encourage our parents with is to consider placing everything that they do, to look at their calendar, because a lot of times we over plan, we're over involved, we have anxiety, high anxiety. If we have multiple children, we have so many things going on. And what I will suggest is use our calendar as a gentle reminder to place all things under our priority umbrella. And that is God first, family second, and then everything else. And then we limit the number of events that go on during the week. We don't schedule back-to-back outings or activities. And we choose to say no more often. And when we choose to say yes to an event, does it fit under our priority umbrella? And I know that we're going to have some moms that say, okay, but I have multiple kids and their school says that they have to come here and they have to do this and they're required to go to this event, especially if they're not homeschooling their children. Here's something I really recommend, and I trust God to take care of it, is I go to the counselors and I say, I have multiple children. This is our situation. We cannot attend every event during the week, especially if it hits us or keeps us out 4 nights a week. It's going to stress us out. How would you suggest that we manage this?
Mm-hmm.
And they really do want to support the family. They want to come alongside. And if you find that this is an issue with a lot of parents, guess what? Become an active member in whatever the society is that we have, right? Whether it's a parent-teacher association, be involved in the school dynamics. Speak your voice. And when we come up and say, we want our children to thrive, how can the school help us do that as far as scheduling goes?
That's right. That's a good idea. I didn't have to deal with that because I homeschooled and we did everything together as a group and it worked fine, but it's so easy to get over schedule. So, but I love your idea of the priorities of what's the most important. That will really help you make good choices. So where can we find you on the internet?
Oh my goodness. lindagoldfarb.com. You'll find me there. I'm on Facebook, Linda Goldfarb, or maybe search Linda Goldfarb on Facebook. You're going to find me. I write inspirational posts every day on Facebook. I love to be able to encourage. And I'm on Insta, and I'm on just about every social media that's out there. But if you come to my website, you'll also find my podcast. I have a couple, but for families, I have Staying Real About Faith and Family, and a new episode drops every single week. I'd love to encourage your audience with what we have to offer there as well.
That sounds wonderful. Do you have anything else to add?
I have an opportunity for your audience, and if we have the link that's going to be in the show notes for this, I'd love for them to take a free How Did God Design Me quiz. This will help them understand that God designed them a particular way. And when they see that, they'll also receive some additional free options where they could go to my website, download stuff free. And now this will tie them into receiving my Staying Real community letter that comes out a couple times a month. It's just filled with encouragement for the family. And you can absolutely opt out if you'd like to. But I'd love for them to join me there and to journey with me there. And I also have a Facebook group, Staying Real with Linda Goldfarb. I'd love for them to join me there as well.
Okay, we'll put that up there.
This was excellent, Linda Goldfarb. We truly appreciate what you did. I am your hostess, Cynthia L. Simmons. You can find me at clsimmons.com. And for this broadcast, I'm going to offer something special. It's going to be all about creating a peaceful home. Totally free to download. You just go to my website, clsimmons.com/blog2peaceful home, and you can download this for free. Because we as moms, we have to stay on top of it. We cannot let the emotions of the moment cause us to not be able to think clearly. So that is for you, free this time. And we're here every week at Heart of the Matter Radio. And it's Heart of the Matter because I want to get right to the issue and not skirt around it. So we're offering God's timeless wisdom. So hope to see you again next week. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to Heart of the Matter Radio with Cynthia L. Simmons. Your comments and questions are always welcome. Contact us at cynthia@clsimmons.com. We'd love to hear from you, whether you're an author, young mom, a mother of teens, a homeschool mother, or an empty nester. Join us next time as Cynthia once again sets a path to grow in wisdom and a closer walk with the Savior, here on Heart of the Matter Radio.